Thank you for joining us today for Devotions with Brother Aaron. Today's devotion is entitled A Tattooed Skydive Instructor. And hey, I think you're going to enjoy this one as it focuses on my wife taking a skydiving trip for her 50th birthday. I think you're going to like it. Several years ago, I took my wife skydiving. It was on her bucket list, not mine. Anyway, believe it or not, she jumped out of a perfectly good airplane at 14,650 feet in the air. A 25-year-old named Ryan was her skydive instructor and tandem parachutist. I readily admit that when I first saw him, I was taken aback a little. A lot. You see, Ryan looked as though he had fallen face first into a tackle box. He had a stud sticking through the middle of his bottom lip, had his tongue pierced, had tattoos from his neck down to his feet, and had those big earring type things that stretch out your earlobes and make big holes in them. He had half-inch holes in both his earlobes. You could read a newspaper through those holes. I remember thinking to myself, oh my Lord, this is her instructor? I'm placing my wife's life into his hands. She's going to die. I'm going to be a widower. My kids will never believe that I was dumb enough to let my wife and their mama jump out of an airplane harnessed to someone who looked like him. I could hear their questions. Dad, couldn't you look at him and tell he was a deadbeat, no-account, shiftless goofball who was probably strung out on every kind of illegal drug known to man? How in the world could you allow our mama to jump with him? And I must admit that at that point I didn't have any good answers to the questions I suppose they would ask. As Ryan began to strap Mary Ann into her harness, he went over the instructions with her. As he finished giving her instructions, we had a little time, so we struck up a conversation with him. It's amazing what people will tell you if you just take the time to listen to this story. In about 10 minutes, we learned that Ryan's father was a parachutist too, that by age 8 he had Ryan packing parachutes for other skydivers. However, Ryan's home life wasn't very good. Basically, as a teenager, he was abandoned by his family. He told us, "You see all these other skydivers in the room? They are my family. They took me in and raised me. And you see that taller, older skydiver? He became more of a father figure to me than anybody." He continued, "And you see that tall blonde working in the office? She's my wife. We have a 1-year-old son. I hope he doesn't want to be a skydiver. I know the risk. It's a dangerous sport. But if he wants to be a skydiver, I'll teach him. Skydiving is my life. My biological father told me I would never beat his jump record. He has over 1,000 jumps." He paused for a moment. Then, with a look of great pride and accomplishment, he announced to Mary Ann and me, "I now have over 7,000 successful jumps." Later, I asked Mary Ann, "How many unsuccessful jumps do you get?" Little humor there. Very little. Mary Ann looked at him and said, "Son, my children are older than you. I want you to treat me like I'm your mama and take care of me." He promised her he would. She later told me he checked, rechecked, and adjusted every strap on my harness until we jumped out of the plane. There's some great life lessons in my story today. First, I judged Ryan by how he looked, not by the skills he possessed. Listen, don't judge. Secondly, take time to get to know folks. You might like them if you do. Third, everybody is good at something. Even when they don't look like what you think they should, everybody's good at something. Ryan is an excellent parachutist instructor. And in retrospect, I sure am glad Mary Ann had a tattooed skydive instructor named Ryan, even if God did use him to remind this old preacher of some timeless truths. Lord, would you remind us not to judge people by what they look like, but rather by the content of their character and who they really are? You taught us in your word that we would be judged by others the same way we judge them. Please help us to look for the best in people and judge them by that, rather than by how they look or how we perceive them to be. There's good in everybody. Help us to look for and celebrate that. And I ask this in your name. Amen and amen.